Hello, I'm Brendan Riley from Rattlebox Games. Today, we're going to learn how to play the 2 to 6 player cooperative flip and write game, Gameshire. The good people of Drag are preparing a festival to celebrate the coronation of their new monarch. To meet the festival's many needs, the Crown has offered your family the opportunity to use the fertile lands near the castle. Can you keep up with the weird orders coming out of the castle? Will you impress the royals enough to secure a title for your clan? Or will you fail and be chased off into the night with nothing to show for your efforts? Let's find out as we play Gameshire. Setup. In this video, we're going to set up the main cooperative game. At the end of the video, I will explain the changes necessary to play the solo or competitive modes. First, set out the playmat. Make sure it's on the cooperative side, which shows the skill tracking chart. Next, shuffle the resource cards and place 3 of them in the market. If you are adding wrinkle cards, shuffle these in now. Place the deck next to the playmat. Next, shuffle the season cards with the autumn side up. Draw and place 3 in the market, spring side up, and covering the word "or" on the resource cards. Place the deck next to the playmat. Give each player a map and a pencil. Use the numbers or icons in the corner of the map to distribute the maps as evenly as possible, giving each player a different map. If you are playing with more than 4 players, even out the maps as much as possible. Finally, hand out the skill-in cards, making sure to use the cooperative mode side. And now, we're ready to play Gameshire. In order to win, your family must complete 1 goal in the spring and 1 in the autumn. In the spring, you must choose 6 gifts to give the crown. Each player must help choose gifts as equally as possible. In a 2-player game, each player chooses 3 gifts, which with 3 players, each chooses 2 gifts. With 4 players, 2 players choose 2 gifts, and the other 2 choose only 1 gift each, and so on. In autumn, the whole family must work together to deliver all 6 gifts. If you choose 6 gifts and then deliver all of them, you and your family win. By contrast, there are 2 ways you can lose the game. In spring, if any player passes before they choose their share of the gifts, the team loses. In autumn, if the team passes before all 6 gifts have been delivered, the team loses. Your map. During the game, each player will be writing on their own individual map. In the middle of the map, the large white space is your planting area. During the spring, you may only write in this white area. The outer gray area is available for you to write in during the autumn phase. Within the planting area, you will notice 2 special symbols. In each column, one space has a crown. If you are the first person to write a letter or a number on the crown in a particular column, you choose the gift for that column. If someone else has already chosen the gift for that column, writing on the crown has no effect. You also have 3 hammer spaces. These are skills. If you write the letter for a crop on this space, you learn a skill, a special kind of power you and your family can use. If you write the number for a herd of cows on this space, you do not learn a skill. Finally, for each row or column you fill up in the planting area, you earn a boon, a kind of currency your family can spend to use skills. We will talk more about skills and boons later. Spring. In the first half of the game, the spring, you and your family choose from the plans being requested by the crown and fill in those plans on your player mats. The most noble person at the table should go first. You can also choose randomly. On a player's turn, they choose one of the plans in the market by placing the choice token next to that plan or announcing aloud which plan they have selected. For example, if I were to select the left plan, I would put the token there and say, "I choose the left plan." Then each player must draw the plan that has been selected on their own map. When you draw a plan, you may rotate the shape, flip, or mirror it as well. Just be sure to keep the letters and numbers in the correct relationship with one another. Notice that some plans have variable values depicting a number sign, also called the pound sign or the hash sign, or a rainbow, or both. Whenever you need to record a card with one of these symbols, use the crop or a herd of cows depicted on the matching resource cards. For example, to draw this shape, I would substitute a P for the purple root in place of the rainbow symbol, and a 3 in place of the number symbol. After everyone has recorded the plan, discard the plan and the resource, and draw new ones from both decks. If either deck ever runs out, immediately shuffle the appropriate discard pile to make a new drawed pile. Choosing gifts. The first player to record part of their plan on a crown announces that they have done so, and the gift for that column is recorded on the playmat. Be sure to keep track of which gifts you choose. Remember, each player must choose only their share of the gifts. If you record a plan on a crown in a column that has already been chosen, nothing happens. So feel free to fill in that space if it suits your plan. Most of the time, everyone records their plans at the same time. However, if two players write on the crown for the same column in the same round, the player who is closest in turn order to the current player records their entry and chooses the gift. 2 tips. 1. Make sure to talk with your team about your plans so you don't accidentally disrupt someone else's choice. 2. It's usually a good idea to choose a variety of different crops and cowed herd sizes for your gifts. Repeating the same gift can make the autumn more difficult. Learning skills. When any player writes a crop, or a letter, on a hammer space, they learn a skill for their family. Mark the skill on the playmat with an X. If you write a cow herd number or a skill that has already been learned on a hammer space, it has no effect. It's a good idea to learn as many different skills as you can for your family, but sometimes you have no choice but to waste the skill space by writing a number there. As soon as anyone in the family has learned a skill, you are eligible to use that skill to help your team. Each skill is explained on your player card and in detail in the rulebook. Earning boons. While the Crown is glad you've learned new skills, they are hesitant to let you use them. However, the more efficient you are at using your fields, the more leeway you can have to use your skills. During the spring, and only during the spring, when any player fills a row or column, they earn a boon from the Crown. And mark off, but do not fill in, the circle at the end of that row or column. Boons are shared among the family and are spent to use skills. Using skills. Once the family has learned a skill and earned boons, players may use those skills to help the team. In order to use a skill, the player declares that they want to use it, and then marks off the skills used number on the playmat. Then a team must spend a number of boons equal to the number they just shaded in. For example, if it's the first time the team is using a skill, they would mark off the 1 space and spend 1 boon. If it's the third time a team is using a skill, they would mark off the 3 space and spend 3 boons. To spend a boon, the player who has that boon must fill in the circle for the boon that they earned previously. Remember, boons are a shared resource, so when a team uses its first skill, the team as a whole uses just 1 boon, not 1 boon per player. Also note that using 1 skill multiple times still counts as multiple skills used. Passing. If a player is unable to record a plan that was chosen, that player must pass and stop recording plans for the remainder of the spring, thus skipping any remaining turns. They can still spend boons, however. It's common to use a skill or 2 at the end of the spring to ensure that everybody chooses all their gifts. End of spring. When the 6th gift is chosen, players finish recording the current plan, learning skills, earning boons, and using skills as necessary, and then the round ends. We move on to autumn. When autumn arrives, the Crown begins sending out demands to harvest crops and collect cows for the festival. You and your family must meet these demands and deliver the gifts you've chosen to the castle. If you deliver all 6 gifts, you win. Setting up autumn. First, flip the season cards in the market to their autumn side. Move the cards up so the ore on the resource cards is now visible. Next, flip the deck of season cards over so the spring side is face up. Finally, each player must set aside the gifts for the Crown. To do so, each player shades in 1 space on their player map, matching each of the gifts for the Crown. When you're done, you should have 6 spaces filled in on your map, like this. Now you're ready for autumn. Start with the next player after the player who went last in the spring. Meeting demands. In autumn, each demand you meet gives you a chance to deliver a gift to the Crown. When you meet a demand, you can either deliver a gift or discard up to 2 additional demands. On your turn, choose one of the demand/resource cards and examine the text below the shape. In order to complete this demand, you must shade in an area on your map with the depicted shape, covering the spaces that fit that demand. As in spring, you may flip or rotate the shape, but you may now use the outer gray spaces as well as the inner white ones. Usually, blank spaces do not hinder your meeting the demand on the cards, but they don't help either. For example, this card indicates all cow pastures must be odd. This means you can include crops or blank spaces, but any cow pastures you include must have an odd number. For more details about the demand requirements, consult the rulebook. After the current player has selected the demand they are going to meet, all the other players must also shade in the same shape on their own player mats. However, they do not need to meet the requirements. The other players may shade in the shape in any available spaces, covering crops or herds as they desire. Once the player has shaded in the shape from the demand card and met the condition on it, they may deliver one gift matching either the crop or the cow number on the resource card that was attached to that demand. Mark the gift delivered by drawing a box around it. As I mentioned earlier, instead of delivering a gift, the current player may choose to discard one or two demand resource pairs from the market, in addition to the pair they just fulfilled, effectively refilling the market. Your family may spend boons to use skills throughout the autumn, but you may not learn any new skills or earn any new boons. Passing. If a player is unable to shade in the demand shape that was chosen, that player must pass and stop harvesting for the remainder of the autumn, skipping any remaining turns. They can still spend boons. If the last player passes and the family has not delivered all 6 gifts, you lose. The game ends when you have delivered all 6 gifts. You win. Your family has gained the favor of the crown and earned title to keep the lands you tended. Well done. Wrinkle cards. Once you and your team have played a few games, you may decide you want to increase the difficulty of the game by adding wrinkle cards to the resource deck. These cards, which come in 3 difficulty levels, complicate the game in a variety of ways. Please consult the rulebook for instructions on using them. Solo or competitive mode. In order to play by yourself or play remotely with larger groups, we have added a competitive mode to Gameshire. In the next couple minutes, I will explain how this mode works. My explanation assumes that you have watched and understood the rest of this video, so I won't be re-explaining the basic gameplay mechanisms. Setting up the competitive mode. First, set out the playmat. Make sure it's on the competitive side, which does not show the skill tracking chart. Next, draw a resource card and use the dry erase marker to write the number 6 in the box on the playmat under the crop on the card. Then draw another resource card and write a 5 under the depicted crop. If the depicted resource already has a number, discard the card and draw another. Continue the process until all 6 spaces have a number from 1 to 6. Next, shuffle all the resource cards together. Then draw and place 3 in the market and 1 in the wiggle space. Place the remaining deck next to the play mat, face down. Next, shuffle the season cards with the autumn side up. Draw and place 3 in the market and 1 in the wiggle space, spring side up, and covering the word "or" on the resource cards. Place the deck next to the playmat. Place the round tracker token next to the 1 space on the playmat. Give each player a map and a pencil. You could still try to vary which map each player is using, but it's less critical in this mode. Finally, hand out the skill-in cards, making sure to use the competitive mode side. Alright, now we're ready to play Gameshire, competitively. In the competitive mode of Gameshire, you will fill your own map, choose your own gifts, learn your own skills, earn your own boons, and deliver your own gifts to the crown. You will also try to maximize the value of the crops and cows that are not harvested by the crown. These remaining crops will determine your score. In each round of the spring, you may select and record one of the 3 card pairs from the market, choosing gifts and learning skills as usual. When you learn a skill or choose a gift, you should announce that you have done so to the other players, but your choices do not affect their maps. After all players have chosen and filled in 1 card, discard and replace all 4 pairs of cards. Shuffle and refresh decks as needed, move the round tracker down 1 step, and begin the next round. After 8 rounds have passed, spring ends. Using skills and boons. You can learn skills and earn boons using only the spaces on your own board. Boons are not shared in the competitive game. Boons have 2 uses in the competitive game. First, you may spend them to use skills, as in the cooperative game. Second, you may spend 1 boon to substitute one of the wiggle cards for one of the cards in the main market. In other words, if you like the resource card in the wiggle space, you may pay 1 boon and pretend that it is paired with the season card you want to use. You may spend boons on wiggle cards in both the spring and the autumn. Passing and gifts. In the spring competitive mode, you are entitled to play up to 8 cards, and you may pass at any time without penalty. If you pass, you fill nothing in on your map that turn. If at the end of the spring you have not chosen all 6 gifts, Draw a large X in each empty gift space. You may not deliver this gift and will take a large penalty at the end of the game. Autumn. Set up the autumn phase much like the cooperative game by flipping over the season cards. Each player shades in 6 spaces on their map, 1 matching each of their gifts. As with spring, autumn has 8 rounds of play, any of which you may pass. However, keep in mind that you can only deliver 1 gift per round, so if you pass more than twice, you won't be able to deliver all your gifts. Endgame scoring. The biggest difference between the cooperative and competitive versions of the game is the endgame scoring. After the game is over, each player determines their score using the following steps. The word left in the steps below means left unshaded on the map and thus not harvested. Add up the values of all the cows left. For each crop, multiply the value of the crop, as shown on the player mat, by the number of crop spaces left. Add the crop values together and add it to your total. Next, count up the number of spaces left in your largest contiguous group of unshaded spaces. Those are connected ones. Add this number to your total. Add 3 points for each boon you did not use. Then subtract 30 points for each gift you failed to deliver, including the gifts that were never chosen. The player with the highest total wins. In the case of a tie, add up the gifts of the tied player's gift row. The player with the most valuable gifts wins. That concludes our teaching video of Gameshire. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have further questions, please email me at Brendan@Rattlebox Games, and I'll answer your questions as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, and enjoy Gameshire.